First of all, thank you, Esther, for having me today. Yes, the president of France is stating that the 9 year mission is not a failure, but for Malian on the ground is a total failure. Because if you look at all the metrics of what France aim to do in Mali, which is to put terrorists out of Mali, today 80% of the country is controlled by those terrorist groups, and there are thousands of civilians who die over those 9 periods. So Macron is going to a re-election period in France. Of course, he's going to say that the uh, the mission was a success, but for Malian, and if you look at any objective metric, this mission was a total failure.
I am sure you've been following this summit going on in the, European and the African allies are also there. But also, there was a statement that there's going to be a lack of support from Africans, European allies, and as well as, coupled with the sanctions that ECOWAS imposed on Mali the other day. What do you think this means for the military junta moving forward?
So this is a great question because I will kind of rephrase that question in the sense that what does it mean for the Malian people? Mali is one of the poorest countries in the world, and millions of Malians live with less than $1 a day. That itself is a sanction. That itself is an embargo. But those people live every day with dignity and honor. So, and if you look at the economy of Mali today with the sanction, almost half of the economy is basically an informal sector. I'm not saying they're not feeling the sanction, but the doom scenario that everybody's talking about is not what is happening in Mali. I travel extensively in Mali. I have family there. I was born and raised there. So the doom scenario is not something that will happen because Malians are very resilient people.
You see, some analysts are also saying that the withdrawal of French troops in Mali is a boon to jihadists, especially in that whole Sahel region and your native country of Mali. How do you react to that?
I mean, when I hear those stories and I call them talking head, they get paid to say those, to be honest with you. Which also, if you look at the flip side of that statement, it means that to your first question, the mission was a total failure because if they're saying that jihadists will take over, it means that the mission did not succeed. So you can't have both ways.
I'm looking at a statement, a reaction from the Malian Armed Forces spokesman, Suleiman Dembele. He said there hasn't been any military solution because terrorism has engulfed the entire territory of Mali. What do you make of that statement?
It is a very interesting statement, Esther. I've been saying for years that the Malian army has been quarantined on its own territory by the Alger Peace Accord. Remember, we have the French Barkhane, we have Takuba, we have the G5 Sahel, we have MINUSMA. All those forces in Mali for 10 years were operating on the Malian territory, but with the fact that Malian military did not have the freedom of movement. So what he's saying is that there was no true military solution to this until now that the Malian army is trying to recover those territory loss.
But separating everyone else from this, the fact that African allies are saying they do not support the military junta. What does this mean for the Malian people? You're talking about the Malian people. Those are the people who need to put food on the table. They're the people who need to sleep with peace without having to worry about Islamist jihadists and other terrorists around the country. What do you make of that? Does this mean Mali is going to be isolated in the region and in Africa for that matter?
Mali is not going to be isolated. There are 6 million Malians living abroad. We are one of the most vibrant diaspora. We will help our family. We will help our family. Mali is not going to be isolated. A country like Guinea, we are giving access to the poor. We have a country like Mauritania who are, Algeria as well. Mali is now going to be isolated. Those who are saying that are hoping that Mali will fail. Mali will not fail.
How has the ECOWAS sanctions impacted the country so far?
It has slowed down the economy. Like I stated, there is no the country is suffering from it. But like I said, Malian, this is a very poor country, and if you ask Malian on the ground, they're gonna say to you, "We've been living on embargo for years because of this situation." So today, having ECOWAS imposing those sanctions to us is meaningless to us because our women, our kids are dying. We want solution to that. To us, that's the most important thing.
Why would you say it's meaningless? We've spoken to a number of Malians. We actually do have Malians working here in VOA. And what we hear back in Mali is that because of the sanctions, they are not able to travel to the countries in the neighborhood as they used to do. They cannot do business with them. So those restrictions are biting the economy. They are hitting hard on Malians. What do you say to that?
I travel, and I'm on my way to Mali in the next couple of weeks. So if you recall, the French airline company stopped a flight to Bamako. But as of a couple of days ago, they did announce they're coming back to Mali because Malian are the second diaspora in France. So money talk. Mali is the third economy in the XOF zone. So the sanctions are cutting both ways. The port of Dakar today is basically no longer working because Mali has 70% of its export going through that port. So I'm not saying that people are not suffering, but Malians have decided to make sure they take back their country, and they want to make sure that what they want to do for their country will be what the current leader, will be doing.
Now, the Malian junta had said they would hold elections much earlier than, somewhere in February. I don't remember whether it's next year, but they have now pushed it way far to 2025. What do you make of that? Why wait until then to have democratic elections take place in the country?
So my take on that was, if you recall, Esther, there was what they call a national dialogue that call upon Malian to give their opinion on the duration of the transition. So the final document was at the minimum of 6 months and a maximum of 5 years. And that document was submitted to the head of state, the ECOWAS ever said. But the document was leaked, and the narrative that came out was that the junta asked for 5 years. So, I mean, to me, it is not accurate to say that they asked for 5 years. They gave a time frame based on people's opinion. Nevertheless, this is just stemming from the same ECOWAS that I imposed 18 months for at the beginning of this transition. I remember coming on one of the shows on VOA that it was a big mistake. And today, everybody's looking at that mistake right now because the time that was allocated for the transition was not enough. And today is not a question of if the transition will be extended. It will be a question about how much.
Well, how much? But they said until 2025. That's a long time. Who knows what's going to happen between now and then? Now, you say you keep in touch with your folks back home. What are their biggest concerns right now?
The biggest concern is security, safety. That's what they talk about all the time. I have my own family member who've been affected by this. So what they want today is to be able to go to school. We have kids in Mali who have not been in school for almost 10 years. They want security. That's the main concern today.
And how has the COVID-19 impacted the country?
One of the things that is amazing about not just Mali is that's the whole continent, because like I said, I travel extensively there. is that COVID, uh, eh, for the lack of a better word, they basically said that that's for the elite. It's not the people. A lot of people are very dismissive of COVID, but it does not prevent people for surviving, because it's like I said, this is one of the poorest country in the world, and people are resilient, and they have to put food on the table, and they will soldier on every day.
You know, speaking from the heart and speaking to people back in Mali, a political analyst as well as, you know, just common, you know, citizens, what do they see as the strategy for the military junta to move the country forward? Do they have confidence in the junta?
There was a survey done by a well-respected statistician, where 80% of the Malians supporting the military in power, and that speaks volume of the popular support of the transitional government. They see as um, the France or the West imposing their will on the Malian people. This is something that Malians are very resentful of. And I remember coming on your show a few months ago, and I did say that the level of resentment is bubbling. And at the time, very few people notice it, because uh, people want solution, and they are holding their current leader accountable. That is something that people in the West do
Correct.
not anticipate.